You're welcome to News Today with me, Kemini Nyamani. I'm coming up with the next dozens of irate youth storm radio justice during a panel discussion Tuesday morning. Former Minister of Finance, Dr. Akoto says government must defer full implementation of a single spine salary structure. Stay with me for details of these stories and plenty more in a moment. This is News Today. Now, dozens of irate youths this morning stormed Radio Justice during a panel discussion. Our reporter Mohammed Hashmin has joined us with some detail. Hello, Mohammed.
Yeah, hello.
Give us detail of this attack.
Well, early this morning, in the usual political discussions of Radio Justice, and normally their invitation is based on the main political parties in the country. So a member of the communication team, Ken Faisal, represented the MPP, and one Baba Musa also represented ruling Atani, NDC, in that particular discussion. So in the course of the discussion, yesterday's incident where one Rashid was murdered was tabled during the discussion, and the MPP communication, the member of the MPP communication team, Ken Faisal, is alleged to have said that Rashid was murdered by some weed smokers in the bushes of Tamale, and this angered some of the irate youth who listened to the program. So they stormed the station, demanding to lynch King Faisal. So during that process, management of Radio Justice made an announcement appealing to the security.
But Hashmin, has any arrest been made?
Well, I saw about 4 people arrested. They have since been taken to the police station. And quite apart from that, a lot of people have been injured because the police went deep into the community, and they were able to arrest some individuals, and physically they were assaulted in the process. Some of them have been rushed to the hospital.
Hashmin, could you come again with that? Were any arrests made? We see that a car at the premise of the radio station was torched, as well as the studio, I believe.
Yes, 3 cars were set ablaze by the irate youth, and the office of Bayport Financial Services, they are in the downstairs of the main building, has also been badly affected. Right now, police are taking cover at the offices there because they believe that there will still be some properties, valuable properties in their office, which they need to protect. And at the moment, police are still maintaining their presence there. A motorbike also belonging to Martina Bogre, who also works at Radio Justice, was also set ablaze in the process.
Tell us about security presence at Radio Justice now.
Well, a heavy armed military and police personnel are still visible at Radio Justice. According to them, they want to maintain their presence. But the town itself, the Tamale town itself, is very quiet. Minutes after the incident broke up, schools in the metropolis, children, teachers, traders, and other residents had to run away to safety. So the streets of the metropolis looks deserted. It looks very, very quiet, and people are fear. It appears fear has gripped the residents.
So are they still present at the premise of the radio station?
Yes, yes. The police and the military are still present there.
Is the station still on the air?
Well, the station at the moment has gone off because none of their staff is no more in the building to even operate their equipment.
I see we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much, Hashmin. We've been talking to Northern Regional Correspondent Mohammed Hashmin in relation to an attack on radio justice by some irate youth in the area. Let's move on to something else. And the Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry has provided a counselor to mother of an alleged missing baby at Suwaiba Abdul Mumuni to help her recover from the shock. The ministry has also assured the family of providing them with all the needed support to help them find their baby. Another report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
The Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Rahel Apo, was accompanied by the Ashanti Regional Director of Social Welfare, Asokori Mampong MCE, and Regional Minister's representative to the house of the family of the missing baby. Their visit was to sympathize with the family. Head of the family, Ali Nuhu, told the Deputy Minister that all they are seeking for is the body of the baby, dead or alive. He commended the efforts of the various stakeholders in trying to find the body of the missing baby. The Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection said they feel the pain of Suwaiba and urged her to be strong. She said the ministry is ready to support the woman emotionally, financially and legally if the need arises.
The minister has already issued a statement, and now we've also provided a counselor, professional counselor for her. And I also believe that, to be sincere with you, this is not an easy thing for someone who was looking for a child, and by God's grace, they have gotten a child. So for now, we provided a counselor, and we are also probing into the matter and ensure that the truth will definitely come out. We are also waiting for the 14 days. Definitely this week, the 14 days will go over to exhausted, and then we see what God will also do.
Rahel Apo also urged all to remain calm and wait for the outcome of the investigation. The mother of the missing baby, Suwaiba Abdul Mumuni, thanked the Ministry of Health, the media and the public for their support and hopes the outcome of the investigation will change the face of child delivery in the country.
There will be a regional minister, Muina, chief imam, ono bunyina, mida muina, si asami ba omujina omona so eye nhwehwemu mesremu. Mwenye nhwehwemu no ma me bebia no kro na ye de ato. Enya nwen o me de ato me awie ebia obi so o akire.
A group calling itself Coalition of Ghanaian Youth for Justice for Suwaiba say they remain resolute and determined in their quest to get to the bottom of the missing baby saga at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. The group has also described as distasteful comments by General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Frank Srebro, about the incident. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports. The mystery surrounding the missing babies in the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital is yet to be unraveled. A pressure group calling itself the Coalition of Ghanaian Youth for Justice for Suwaiba has issued a press statement condemning the Ghana Medical Association for being insensitive to the plight of families of the missing babies. The group finds it strange for GMA to read meanings into the directives issued by the Ministry of Health. Baba Musa is the spokesperson for the group.
We find some of the comments coming from the Ghana Medical Association, GMA, particularly its General Secretary, Dr. Frank Srebro, as highly distasteful and unacceptable. And we would like to assure him and the GMA that we are unfazed by their blatant threat and will never be cowed into silence. Ladies and gentlemen, according to Dr. Srebro's logic, we can't say a doctor was guilty because it was a whole team that was on duty. This is indeed, sad to say the least, and a very clear case of failure on the management of care.
He declared the group's readiness to resort to all legal means to make sure the babies are produced dead or alive. They are also asking the Chief Executive Officer of the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital to step aside while investigation of the missing babies continues. The Atani Bridge, one of Ghana's most iconic landmarks, was Monday finally closed down to traffic to allow major rehabilitation works. The project, which will last about 24 months, is estimated to cost 13 million euros. A ferry has been deployed to transport vehicles and goods across the lake for the period, and hundreds of drivers as well as passengers were after 6 p.m. stranded at Senchi. Let's go over the telephone line now and speak to Owusu Setre Enchi. He is Director, Bridges, Ghana Highway Authority. Hello, Owusu. Hello, Owusu.
Hello, good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us on News Today.
You're welcome.
We understand that the situation of just a ferry conveying cargo and passengers across the river is still the same today. Why so?
I wouldn't say it's still the same today. Yesterday was the beginning. We had a few issues. Now everything's moving on smoothly. The police are here. They are helping us organize the queue, and everybody's in queue. So everything's moving on smoothly here today.
I understand. So you're saying that both ferries are conveying cargo and passengers across?
Yes, we have only one ferry working, and it's conveying passengers and cargo.
So the situation hasn't changed. We were told that the ferry that's supposed to go across Accra to Senchi was not functioning. And it's the same today. It's only the Senchi to Accra, the ferry that's working.
We don't have a ferry dedicated to Accra to Senchi. We have two ferries. They move from Senchi to Accra to Senchi, and vice versa. Currently, we are using only one ferry. That ferry moves from Senchi to Accra, and then Accra back to Senchi. So we don't have a ferry dedicated to Senchi and one dedicated to Accra. No, it's just that
I understand. Also,
right.
If you could give me a sec, I understand. But the question I'm asking is, we were told from the beginning, so we don't have the long queues we have now, that there were going to be two ferries. Why do we have only one?
Well, currently one is working. We've had a technical hitch with one of them. We want to put it right by the end of tomorrow, by the close of day tomorrow.
I see. Yesterday we were told it was going to take a few hours. How sure are we that by the end of tomorrow it would actually get back to work?
Well, I don't telling you it was going to be corrected within a few hours. We would never have said that, because we then have not detected what the problem is. We have detected what the problem is now, and the ferries are under warranty. We are not supposed to work on them. The problem has been detected. We've informed our suppliers. We are currently on the plane trying to Ghana. We'll be arriving this evening, and tomorrow we'll put it right.
Very well. Yesterday, as at 6 p.m., we still had some passengers who had not gone across. What are we doing about that situation?
We are transporting passengers across. That's why I said there's been an improvement compared to yesterday. Yesterday, we had a few challenges. So the first day, one ferry had broken down, and we had heavy rain. We were supposed to have closed 6 p.m. yesterday, but we closed at 9:30, 10 p.m. yesterday. And we managed to clear quite a number. This morning, we are also working. We started as early as 5:30. We started conveying passengers and cargo across, and we are doing it. There's others, I said, with the help of the police, there's order, and things are moving on smoothly. That's what I meant by there's been a lot of improvement compared to yesterday.
Also, there were also complaints about the charges, considering that the civil works around the Senchi Ferry Point is not complete, and private parking spaces were charging 2 cedis, so that the drivers who were stranded could park their cars there. What's the GHA doing about this?
What we did was we didn't construct a private parking place. We constructed what we call a queuing lane. So the vehicles are supposed to queue on the lane. We don't charge for queuing. We only charge for ferrying the vehicles across. We never constructed a parking area. But because of the problems and here and there, as I said, there are a few challenges. We were forced onto the parking area and we were charging, and so that's why they had a problem. We have not constructed any parking area. We've only constructed queuing lane, and vehicles are supposed to be in the queuing lane. And we don't charge for queuing. We only charge for ferrying, and that's all.
I see, but the civil works around the ferry point were supposed to have been complete, and it would have made it easier for drivers to find a place to park. A private investor has decided that I would charge 2 cedis, and the drivers are thinking if we are going to pay 10 cedis for the ferry transport itself and pay 2 cedis for joining the long queues or parking so our passengers could have some rest time, then we'll pass it on to the passengers. Is that what the Ghana Highway Authority wants?
As I said, we never constructed a parking lot for them. We constructed queuing. We have 2 ferries, and with the 2 ferries, we set the vehicles to queue up in the lane, and then they move. We had a technical hitch. That was what I thought about all this. Now, the private developer even started his construction before we moved in. When he realized we were bringing ferries, he decided to do his own construction and do his thing. So we are not working for others. So basically, that's what is happening.
I see. And the civil works around the ferry point, the place of convenience, the market for the trading points, let me put it that way, for the traders. When are we going to see that complete?
Highways is not constructing any market. We are constructing a private place of public place of convenience. We're almost through with them. There are 2, one on the Atani side, one on the state side. We've not completed. We needed to really close the Atani. The operation had to close the Atani. The contractor is currently working on that. The market is being constructed by the assembly, and that has got nothing to do with us. All the other civil works going on around the area are being done by the private developer. Those things have nothing to do with us. Ours is the road, the parking lot, and the public place of convenience. When
are we going to complete that also?
Complete what?
The things you have mentioned, that is what you are supposed to do. As at yesterday, when we went there to report, these things were not there.
I've mentioned a whole lot of things. Out of the things I mentioned, what I said was a public place of convenience.
There was only one temporal public place of convenience.
There was what?
There was only one temporal public place of convenience at the time we were reporting.
And as I said, the market is not our responsibility.
I haven't spoken of markets.
Let me finish. If we are putting up a market, we would have put up a public place of convenience for the market. Our public place of convenience is for vehicles waiting. And we're almost through with it. We hope to finish it by the end of next week, and we should finish by that. But the marketplace is not our responsibility.
I'm sorry, but you're getting me wrong. I haven't spoken of markets now. All I'm asking is, when are you finishing the public place of convenience, the works that the Ghana Highway Authority is supposed to do? You mentioned some roads, you mentioned place of convenience. I just asked a simple question. When are we finishing that?
Let's not give you a simple answer. The contractor is currently working on the public place of convenience. If you come there, you see working on it. We hope you should be completed by the end of next week. You should have completed it.
I see. We'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also, Secretary Entry is Director of Bridges with the Ghana Highways Authority. 1 out of every 5 persons in Ghana has a mental disorder. Acting Chief Executive of the Ghana Mental Health Authority, Dr. Akwesi, who gave the figures, says mental health delivery has not been accorded the same level of attention. He was speaking on the sidelines of a program on the dissemination of key provisions of Ghana's mental health law at Bolgatanga and the Upper East region, from where Albert Sori sent in this report.
The program was organized by Basic Needs, an NGO that concentrates on mental health. It was aimed at broadening the knowledge of various stakeholders from all districts of the region on Ghana's mental health law. Speaking to journalists after the program, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Mental Health Authority, Dr. Akwesi, said mental health care delivery in Ghana currently is poor.
On a scale of 10, I would say we are only 2 over 10. Our mental health care is poor. We don't have enough resources to attend to our mental health needs. Every now and then we are short of money. Our budgetary allocation is inadequate and it does not flow regularly. We don't have enough human resources to attend to that. In a country of 24-25 million people, we have only 11 practicing psychiatrists. That translates to 1 in 2 million. When our neighbors in Nigeria, for us, are having 1 in a million, Uganda, they are having 1 in 500,000. That's not good enough. We are aiming at getting not less than 1 in 300,000. So our mental health care situation is not good. Human resource situation is bad. We have only 5 clinical psychologists in the public health sector, and yet we require about 100.
Dr. Osei was hopeful the situation will change now that the Mental Health Law, Act 846, has been passed.
Thank God the law has been passed, and it is a law which, as a tool for social engineering, will bring the civil services, will get us all to provide adequate resources to mental health care, and it will change the paradigm that with which we are operating now into community care and mental health services.
Deputy Upper East Regional Minister Daniel Syme said education on the key provisions of the mental health law must be open in order to achieve the desired results in mental health care delivery in Ghana.
You're watching News Today. Gone by, dozens of irate youths stormed Radio Justice during a panel discussion touching properties belonging to the radio station. We'll bring you updates on this in subsequent broadcasts if you missed my interview with our regional correspondent. There's more to come. Don't go away. I'm glad you stayed on. It's time for some business. And former Minister of State in charge of Finance, Dr. Atani says government must find 2.6 billion cedis in savings if it is to meet its economic targets. Speaking at the Graphic Fidelity Economic Dialogue in Accra, Dr. Akutose noted government must defer full implementation of the single spine salary structure. He also said government must find ways to negotiate payment of arrears to contractors.
If you look at the growth numbers, 7.4 to less than 6, it means that revenue cannot be robust, isn't it? Already, we are told by the GRA that they missed their target by 16%. So I cannot count on income taxes and so forth to fill the gap. VAT has gone up. Fees and levies have gone up. I would be surprised if the government would be bold enough to come up with a new tax measure. So I will put that off the table. How much can you get from tax administration? Maybe if you crack the whip, GRA, customs can come up with some 200 to 300 million. But keep in mind, I'm thinking 2.6 billion in cuts. So if I were sitting in the Ministry of Finance, I will tell the President that I don't think we can raise a lot of money. If it comes, bingo, it will help us. So let's go to expenditure. Where do we cut? This, the minister must look for savings, whether he likes it or not. We are going from 11% to 8.5%. What are the sources of expenditure? I'll come to the most difficult one later. That's the wage bill. Let me take the easiest. Use of goods and services. They call it administration, whatever it is. 1.4 billion for the whole public sector. How much can he cut? Last year, we know that most of the MDAs did not get the money. 1.4 billion, let's say he can cut to 200 million. Find savings there. The other one is domestic capital expenditure. It's not enough anyway, 1.5 billion. That will affect growth, yes, but that is the situation you have. That's another, let's say 200 million. I'm being very generous because I think that if you cut too much, you cannot grow that much. But let's say you find another 200 million, so you're at 400. Now, let's go to the difficult ones. Statutory funds, by law, you cannot cut them. As we speak, they are arrears to the tune maybe between 800 to 1 billion. So the first job is to pay these arrears and then pay the current ones. So I don't think by law, and if it does, Parliament will take it on anyway. Because now we cannot accumulate arrears in Get Fund, DACF, National Health Insurance. They are affecting development in the districts. So that one is off the table. What do we have left? Interest payments and wage expenditure. There's another one which I'll come to maybe.
Minister of Finance at Tekwa at the same event spoke on the similar issues.
This, given our outputs and given our desire to maintain, using the word again, a liberal tax regime that has benefited the corporate tax rate of say 25%, 22.5%, and we are no longer imposing sales and other taxes at 200%, then it means that this is the nexus which is very important. The private sector has to do more. And that leads to my second point, which is that both government and the private sector has been on the short end of the market for too long. Treasury bills, we all know, are very popular. And until we started going into 3-year and 5-year bonds and the sovereign bond, the most reliable source of financing for the budget was treasury bills, which have high interest rates. And as we all know, I do not belabor the point, crowding out effects and high interest rates. What it means is that government itself should begin to look for a deeper source of financing, particularly for the capital budget. But that is also the case, with the private sector. I believe the private sector is also depending a lot on the short end of the market. In forging ahead, we should be thinking about a development bank, not necessarily state-owned, but this is a challenge for the financial sector, a bank that is deep enough to go into areas like long-term financing of mortgages and others in the country. We do not have that, yet. Or even if we have it, it's not deep enough. Ghana should be thinking about, for example, an EXIM approach, because that is the only way we can also boost exports, in order that our current account situation in the long term, would be brought under control, and the volatilities that come, with the currency. We need a stock exchange. We often view the stock exchange too much in terms of equity capital. We need a stock exchange that will lead us to corporate bonds, that will partner with international, other stock exchanges that have deeper, awareness, and within a West African environment to provide that long-term finance, both equity and bonds, in order that we can move.
There will be more on the dialogue in subsequent broadcasts. Let's look at foreign business, and the International Monetary Fund is warning of a huge decline in the value of commodity prices in the coming months. According to the fund's new report on commodity price outlook and risks, prices of cocoa, gold, as well as crude oil are set to decline further this year. The prediction is expected to have implications for government's revenue for 2014. Already, the country is having challenges in getting the required funds for various development projects. This is partly due to decline in the country's earnings from traditional exports like gold and cocoa. One big business to another. E-commerce giant eBay has cut the total compensation of its chief executive, John Donahoe, by more than half. Donahoe was paid $13.8 million, including salary and bonus, in 2013, down from $29.7 million a year ago, while his basic salary rose by 2%. His annual cash incentive fell by 43% from a year earlier. The sharp drop in the pay comes amid an ongoing battle between the firm and activist shareholder Carl Khan over its online payment business, PayPal. The company said that while the chief executive had performed well, the firm's financial performance did not fully meet expectations. eBay generated earnings of about $850 million in the final quarter of last year, an increase of 13%. However, its results have not been meeting expectations. Troubled Japanese Bitcoin exchange Mt. Gox has won temporary bankruptcy protection in the U.S. A judge in Dallas, Texas, agreed to protect the firm's assets and temporarily halt 2 U.S. lawsuits while bankruptcy proceedings occur in Japan. The firm filed for bankruptcy in Japan in February after losing about $473 million worth of customers' bitcoins to what it says was a hacking attack. Mt. Gox is scheduled to return to court on 1st April to extend the protections. The firm filed for Chapter 15 protection in the U.S. late Sunday. The filing asks the U.S. Bankruptcy Court to recognize the company's bankruptcy in Japan and protect its U.S. assets. That'll be all for business. Baba Tando brings us sports after this.
Good afternoon, I am Baba Tando and I have the latest in the world of sports, courtesy Cowbell. Now, famous Brazilian footballer Pelé says Brazil is still preparing for the World Cup. Now, despite demonstrations during last year's Confederations Cup and strikes in protest this year, he has predicted the tournament will be a great success.
All-time Brazilian soccer greats, Pelé looked forward to the World Cup in his home country at a press event in the French capital Paris on Monday. Considered by many to be the world's best ever player, Pelé was only 9 years old when Brazil last hosted the tournament and lost to Uruguay in the final match of the 1950 World Cup. That still haunts him.
My first World Cup, I was 8 to 9 years old, and then Brazil lost for Uruguay, in Brazil. I saw my father cry for that. Now, of course, I don't want my son to see me cry because Brazil lost. If he cried, he's going to cry of the happiness. But I hope we will have a revanche now.
Pelé then led Brazil to the title 8 years later when he was just 17 years old, and again in 1970. The Brazilian, who scored 77 goals in 92 games for his country, added that he hopes Brazil has a successful World Cup.
I think we are confident. The most important is to do, for the foreigners, for the people who are going to be there, do nice show and receive well the people there. I think this is important because win or loss, this is only God knows who's going to win or going to lose. But I hope so. We're going to have a nice World Cup.
Uli Hoeneß, president of European football champions Bayern München, has admitted in court to defrauding Germany's tax authorities of 18 million euros. Prosecutors had earlier accused him of evading a far smaller sum of 3.5 million euros in taxes and are seeking a jail term. The former World Cup winning German international footballer, who's 62, kept the funds in a secret Swiss bank account. He told the court he deeply regretted any wrongdoings. Now, the former Germany forward who helped the national team win the 1972 European Championship and then the World Cup 2 years later came clean about his secret bank account last year, filing an amended tax return in the hope of an amnesty in return for paying the tax he owed. Barcelona president Josep Maria Bartomeu has admitted the saga surrounding the transfer of Brazilian superstar Neymar has been embarrassing, and Josep Maria Bartomeu, however, said the Spanish champions had done nothing wrong. Spanish authorities have accused Barcelona of tax fraud over the transfer. The club were formerly accused of tax fraud in February when a judge in Spain ruled there was enough evidence to continue investigations into the transfer. It is alleged that Barcelona tried to evade £7.58 million in taxes after signing the Brazilian forward from Santos in June last year. In January, Sandro Rosell resigned as Barcelona president following accusations he misappropriated money. He is also being investigated but denies any wrongdoing. At the time of the move, Barcelona said the transfer was worth £48.6 million. But after questions were raised by a member of the club, they were forced to release documents showing the full cost to be more than £71 million. Arsenal left-back Kieran Gibbs will miss this evening's Champions League last 16 leg at Bayern München with an ankle injury. Arsenal lost the first leg 2-0, and in the other game, AC Milan is looking to overturn a 1-0 first leg deficit against Champions League last 16 opponents Atletico Madrid. The wrap for sports brought to you by the current courtesy of Cowbell. My name is Baba Tando. Don't go away, the news continues right after this break.
former president, Jerry John Rawlings, says the African Union must assert itself on global issues. He said the hypocrisy and inconsistency demonstrated by some of the superpowers in the Ukrainian affair is serious insults to the intelligence of the world. The former president was speaking on the BBC's Focus on Africa television program Monday.
It's unfortunate that the Union has been silent on this, you know. We should have, the African Union should have said something, should have voiced an opinion on this thing. Because I'm saying that unless, of course, we've compromised ourselves to the extent that we've become afraid, you see what I mean, to tell it to the West that what you're doing is unethical. But I don't think that's right either. I don't think we've compromised ourselves to that extent. So to be quite honest, I cannot understand why we're remaining, our silence is so loud, okay? Because today it's Russia, tomorrow it may be another country, tomorrow it could be you.
Over the line now is Dr. Vladimir Nchidanso, Associate Director, Center for Regional Integration in Africa. Thank you very much, Doc, for joining us. Hello, Dr. Nchidanso.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on News Today. But what role can the AU, I'm stemming from what the former president has said, what role can the AU play in the Russia-Ukrainian issues?
In actual fact, very little. I think I endorse the very fact that people are calling, or someone is calling on the EU to be more active or proactive on global issues, to assert its own presence on global affairs. But then very little can be done where the Ukrainian situation is. All we can do is to call for diplomatic resolution to the impasse. Apart from that, AU cannot have any effort. One thing they can do actually is to be very active in the UN circles. So when the UN Security Council is meeting on such issues, Africa must be forthright and tell its mind, rather than playing a second fiddle to some issues that are ethnocentric, or yes, that will play into the hands either of the West or the East and that kind of thing. So he's right in calling on Africa to be more proactive. But in the Ukrainian situation as it is, we are starting a new Cold War, kind of. And there is more to it than meets the eye. You know, it's not as simple as that. It's not just a simple invasion. That's a history. And geostrategically, Russia would not want to lose the Crimea. It has nothing there apart from Sevastopol. And the Russian-speaking population over there is more than the others, more than the Tatars, more than the Ukrainians. And if it loses that place to Ukraine fully, and Ukraine moves to Europe, then of course you are talking about a geopolitical situation where the Russians will be worse off. So this one needs diplomacy, not threat.
I see. Let's look at the situation of Crimea and the Muslim group that resides there. Are the fear of having an issue on the Crimea valid? Are they justified to be afraid of having a repeat of World War II?
Well, the point is that they have cause to fear. The Crimea Tatars have a real history. During the period of the Tsars, I mean, they were so troublesome that the Tsars made them their warriors, kind of, to satisfy them and pacify them. Now, a lot of things have happened, and in the era of globalization, you would realize that, I mean, the autonomy given them is good. But again, somewhere in 1954, when Khrushchev ceded the place to Ukraine, they called for their own autonomy, which they have gotten. Now that the Russians want to protect their Russian-speaking people, and the Tatars are giving indications of not wanting their own autonomy, we are seeing a situation where they may be supported fully by the global jihad or the global Islam. If that happens, then we are going to see a situation where it's not going to be a repeat of what they call the World War II annihilation, or the way they were exiled, but it will be a kind of a clash of civilizations that we are going to see. a lot of the Muslim population, Chechnya and others, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan and others, will want to support their kith and kin where Islam is concerned. That's what I fear. So the area is going to be an area of turmoil, an area of a kind of jihad, one way or the other, if the problem is not solved amicably.
We'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much, Dr. Enchidanso. Dr. Vladimir Enchidanso is Associate Director, Center for Regional Integration in Africa. Move on to... Let's do some entertainment news, and, well, perhaps just before it, coming in, fear has gripped residents of Tamale after a 25-year-old unemployed Mustafa Abdul Rashid was murdered this afternoon by unknown assailants, bringing to 2 the number of people who have lost their lives in the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly within a space of 2 weeks.
Incident at Sanerigu left Mohammed Naziru with gunshot wounds. He was rushed to the Tamale Teaching Hospital where he died Monday afternoon. The incident led to a press conference by Abuabo Kandahar Youth, a youth wing of the New Patriotic Party in Tamale, who issued a 10-hour ultimatum to the police in the northern regional capital Tamale to hunt for 3 people who they allege to be behind the murder of their colleague Naziru Mohammed. They named the 3 persons as Abdallah Dalase, a money doubler in Tamale, Yakubu, a guy only known to them as Water, who is an employee under the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurship Development Agency, JIDA. Press Secretary of the youth group, Umar Aniyas Ghazali, addresses a press conference in Tamale this afternoon. Hours after that ultimatum, one Mustafa Abdul Rashid was gunned down at Abuabo after a series of sporadic shooting in the area by irate youth. Brother of the deceased, Awudu Abdul Latif, spoke to Joynews.
I got an information that he's been attacked. Okay. It was when we got to the scene that we realized that he was dead. Said in Lamashagu. Okay. I believe he was just roaming. You know, this is a market.
Gun murder in Tamale has become widespread in the metropolis. Within the last 3 months, more than 3 people have been killed. Meanwhile, the Concerned Citizens Association of Tamale is appealing to the Minister of Interior to institute investigation into recent gun murder and battles among some money doublers in the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly area. The Regional Police Command have deployed heavy armed security personnel to the Tamale Township to maintain law and order following Monday evening's sporadic shooting at Abuabo, a suburb of the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly.
Really sad, but let's get into showbiz. And the Ghana Music Week celebration saw performances from upcoming artists, and here's what happened.
The GH All-Star Show, after starting behind scheduled time, saw performances from some upcoming artists, and they tried their best to please the fans. of Ghana's hip-hop artist Aigbeedem shared his opinion on why some shows in Ghana start behind schedule.
I think they always talk about organizers, but we should also start talking about the mindset of the people who come to the show. They have been stereotyped to think that Ghanaian shows start late. So every time they want to wait at home for a longer time, they want to get the tickets at the gate. So I think that we should start educating people to come to the shows early, and it will help the organizers to set up earlier. The artist wants to perform.
This is News Today. Here are our headlines. Dozens of irate youth stormed Radio Justice in Tamale during a panel discussion Tuesday morning, touching some properties of the radio station. Former Minister of State Dr. Akoto says government must defer full implementation of the single spine salary structure. In foreign news, that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye.